Hello, can you hear me now? You should be able to hear me now because I can see the levels on my screen now. Can everyone hear me in chat? Not that anyone's in chat.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, I had it set up wrong. For some reason, the mic reverted to what's it called?
Mute.
Default. Default. So I had to put it back
Stop
on.
tweaking the blooming settings. What is it with you? Honestly,
No idea.
keep it right. Just write the settings down. Stick with the settings. Don't touch the settings.
I don't know what I don't know what I've meant to have touched. Wow, 8 followers on Rumble. I've only got 8 followers. I have. That's pretty cool. But yes, I will say hello to everyone now. Hello, Removable. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm not too bad, thank you very much. It's nice to be here, and for those listening, whichever platform you are, it's nice to hear and see you all.
Good to hear, and welcome, VJ. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for having me back on the show.
It's always good. Always good to have you.
It's been a while. It seems like it's been a while since we've done on a show, but yeah, it's good to be back and to have a nice chat and a big welcome to Meisuko.
Mm.
Thank you, VJ. I am super happy to be back here. Since got to see at least one of the members in real life.
He's been having nightmares ever since.
And I can tell you that he really does have a huge skull head.
And also,
the avatar doesn't lie.
I need some clarification. Does he not shut up in real life as well?
Well, I think that he's very chatty chap, if you would say.
He's trying to be nice.
Yeah, what you hear is what you get. Unfortunately, sorry.
I know it was a joke, but I do know what you like because when I first met him, there was actually a Stubscast that should have been 6 hours long, really, 3 hours long testing the night before and 3 hours the night after. And he told me about what he was like at EGX and the way he's taught to developers. So yeah.
Whoa.
Yep, the Indy and that have all seen me, and well, you saw how quickly I was chatting to one of the PR teams at Wild Entertainment, didn't you? It was
totally natural.
I was still chatting, and they decided to leave me.
Really?
I was chatting too much. Yeah, it's like right, we've got to go and play some games. See you later.
Fair enough. Right, welcome back, Meisuko. You feel like a panel member, really. You do. You're on that often.
Yeah. Well, it's only to the kindness that I am invited here. So I definitely don't take it granted, or if you know what I mean.
No, it's always good to have you on. It is. It's fun chat.
Thank you.
Welcome to Fimber in chat. And VJ and Meisuko can see you in chat as well. Yes. Right, so really, I think because 2 members of the panel went to an event in London called EGX, and one of them flew in from another country just to go, we should definitely talk about EGX, I think. So, what's the current state of the event, like the amount of games on display, state of the big 3 console manufacturers? Were they there overall?
Who's this going to? Are you going to go to Meisuko first, or are you going to go to the other person?
Either, really. Meisuko came up with these questions, actually, because they were quite good.
Yeah, I was just thinking because we had a quick chat about this when we were at the event. So so there was Nintendo presence there. So that was good.
That was good, yes.
Yeah, and Xbox had a limited presence with the Forza there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they were there.
That was also good.
No one was.
Well, it was more of a case of just like a one game, and the same thing. I think PlayStation had like maybe one or two games there. It was for those who have been who've been going there for quite a few times, or I say legacy people who've gone there since it was Eurogamer Expo. It is. You can feel the what I would say. You can feel the emptiness of the two other big platforms that aren't there. What I did like to see was the fact that Nintendo's clearly decided to do the same thing it normally does, which is they put in a huge big booth with about 30 to 40 games there, upon which you can then try out all these games, and effectively it helps sell the system to newcomers and new players. Xbox and PlayStation would normally be doing exactly the same thing.
Okay.
And they would normally put in a big booth with 30 games or 40 games, same thing with PlayStation. And because they were technically rivals, they would just try and up each other throughout the years. And so the stages, these booths would get much more extravagant. They were throwing, free gifts to everybody, free consoles, free software, hardware. They would normally do quite a big events. And previous years, it would be the three big hitters would take up the entire, effectively, one of these warehouses. There's two or three big warehouses that you could go into in the EGX, and they take up one warehouse themselves. Because it was so big, and they'd have live panels, live shows. You would probably get, even in some cases, you'd get some of the Xbox higher ups there. The same thing with some of the PlayStation higher ups. You'd get them there as well, and those events made it feel like it was a premier event for the UK. It made it sound and feel and enticed new players as well as existing players. It made it feel like what I would say Gamescom is now. Since Xbox and PlayStation have kind of said they're not doing that anymore, you can feel there is an emptiness there, which is... I was hoping that the indies games and other peripherals would be enough to fill that and take it over and push it a little harder. I felt this year, and this is just my opinion, is that it did feel a little bit more empty. And I think we even spoke about it because like the booths were much more spread out this year, wasn't they? Well, at least in your case, it's your first time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some of the booths were quite spread out, and kind of one of the ones I think was quite telling was Total War was there. It was literally in the middle of the room, and if you had no idea that it was part of Sega, which was literally on the side of the actual warehouse, you probably wouldn't have realised it was part of Sega. That's how spread apart they were.
I think that in general you could have filled like that. I mean, like double desk and still have like quite good room to maneuver. So
you could have. I reckon you probably could have doubled or trebled the amount of the gaming booths that were there, and it would still have enough space to walk around and enjoy the actual games that were there. One of the things I mentioned to Meisuko is that I did have a chat with the ticket sales people about halfway through the day. Kind of just got on well with them, had a chat with them. You know what I'm like, I kind of talk to anybody, and they did say that the ticket sales was disappointing. So take away from that what you will. I've known ticket sales. Well, at least there's like the 4-day events normally has early bird tickets, which is basically you get a free hour. You get in earlier, an hour earlier, and you pay premium for that. What it means is if you get in early, you probably have less queues to deal up with the bigger games. Those would normally be sold out within about 48 hours of their tickets being announced. And to remember, these tickets are normally announced about two months prior to the event. And they would normally be sold out within that period.
Obviously, I didn't go, but I turn my mic down slightly. I would probably say a lot of that is due to the fact that they don't advertise actually who's going to be there till a few days before the event. They don't really do a lot of. You've got to advertise what games and what who's going to be there, in advance. A lot of people want the big hitting games.
Well, I think that doesn't help matters either. No, not normally. But at the same time, those were normally sold out within 48 hours because it was just a synonymous event. The events they knew it was a huge event. It didn't matter in so much what was being shown. They just wanted to be there. They wanted to. So I agree that since PlayStation and Xbox have kind of moved away from that event, they should have spent more time announcing the actual games. But again, I think it's a catch-22 because when you speak to the developers, this is like their 6th or 7th or maybe 10th event they've gone to. This is effectively burning them out. And so you can understand why they're hesitant to potentially say whether or not they're going to go to this event. And again, that's telling as well. Normally, indie developers would be gnawing at their teeth, gnawing at the door to try and get into these events because they knew these events would be the big, huge event of the year, at least in the UK. It'd be like the Tokyo event. It would be like the, I can't think of the most famous one in America.
PAX.
PAX. Yeah, these events you would be chomping at the bits to get into. And I think the loss of PlayStation and Xbox has hit, whether we probably realise it or not, has hit a little harder the UK event. I really don't hope. I'd like to hope that PlayStation and Xbox come back. I really do feel that is something that physical events really do help sell systems. Because let's face it, these events they're trying to help you sell a product. It's great for us, like us gamers, where we go and get the chance to meet up with our fellow gamers we haven't spoken to or haven't seen for years, or even in some cases never met in our first, if it's a first time meetup. But for the actual big three, it's there to sell product. And if they're not feeling that they're selling product, then they're not going to go. But of course, that's a problem because if they don't turn up, then neither will the consumer, unless there's something there to keep them interested. So for me, it's a catch-22. I'm hoping that what my gut is telling me is wrong, and that actually this was a really successful event. Because I only kind of went Thursday. I didn't get a chance to go Friday or Saturday or Sunday. But as I said, the ticket sales, at least on a Thursday, what they were telling me was disappointing. And that's unusual. That is very unusual for that event to have disappointing ticket sales. So I don't really know what to think. I'm hoping that maybe the Saturday and Sunday it blew it out of the water. But my gut feeling is probably not.
Welcome to Luke Steele as well, another EGX goer.
Yeah, another man I kind of missed. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to speak to Luke or see Luke. But it's one of those things. I'm hoping that they'll report how well it did in terms of ticket sales. But I would just say is they were still saying that a good 50% of tickets, early bird tickets, hadn't been sold, which isn't a good thing. So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's frustrating for me because as someone who's seen the legacy of these events, the hype they were put in. They were at their pinnacle. How amazing these were. That's not to say EGX wasn't fun or enjoyable. Trust me, it was a very fun and enjoyable event. It was just, for me, it was like a shadow of its former self, a little bit. But that's because I've got the historical background to compare it to. For people like yourself, like meisuko or indie, for those who never kind of didn't see it in its heyday, I would say these are still fantastic events.
Well, I went to Eurogamer back when it first started, and I would say Eurogamer. I can't remember. It was in London.
It was, yeah. Eurogamer Expo was the original.
Yeah, but it was very.
Over to EGX.
The one I went to, Eurogamer was a very small event. It was
Well,
tiny.
that's because it was starting.
Yeah.
It was starting up. That's
Yeah.
when it first started. It was a starter. Remember, this is when they wanted to make something that was solely UK based. It was there to promote the UK gaming
Yeah.
industry, the UK software and hardware. It was there to sell. And so when it first started, it was, it was hard to remember back in, I think it was, what is it, 2008?
I don't know.
You know,
It would
I
have
think
something
it was,
like that, probably.
2008. Gaming still hadn't hit its peak still. I know we keep thinking it did, but it still hadn't really hit its peak still until about 2012 and 2012, I would say. That's when it really, those were the event times in 2014 and 16. Those were the ones that really kind of blew things out the water, where they tried to really push an effort into the UK gaming market.
Okay.
And so it's a bit of a shame, because I know, for me, I suppose I'm biased. I can see what it was and I can see what it is now. And so I've got that slight nostalgia. I'm missing that nostalgia element. For those who've come to the event fresh, it's still probably a fantastic event. And don't I would not. This is not me saying don't go to this event. I would wholeheartedly go to this event. The more people that go to this event, hopefully, it will force and drag the bigger twos to come back again. I want people to come to this event. I want it to make it successful. I want it to be, again, the pinnacle of the UK gaming event. So I want people to go to it. It's just, for me, it's not as what it was, and I'm hoping that will change soon. I mean, Meisuko, you went to the event.
Yep.
What was your take on the event as a fresh face to the event in yourself?
Well, you know, in the, because just this venue was huge compared to what we have in in Finland. The venues here are maybe half or one third of the size of the was it Excel Convention Hall, or?
Yep, that's right. It's Excel.
Yeah. So so it is really huge, and only that well, I'm just curious, like Spider-Man 2 is just releasing, so you would think that it would be a perfect time to have at least some
a Spider-Man booth there. Yeah, something,
yeah.
just something there to showcase off that.
Yeah, even
goodness.
If it's just one game.
Yeah, exactly that. So I mean, it's. Don't get me wrong. The indies were there strong, which is fantastic, because I'm an indie biased person. But if you're feeling that slight disconnect, from a fresh face EGX person.
Yeah. So if
that should be telling,
I
should
am
it?
like, let's say, like the pictures that I see always of packed, and I see the the big publishers and so on, the booths that they have. So Sega was the one that had this kind of presence, that you could really see that they took the effort to create a space for their own brand. So I think, I think that, well, it's hard for me to say, like, is it worth it? But at least if Sega goes there and puts this kind of presence, they are definitely going to be noticed, and people notice their games, like the new Sonic to Yakuza games, and the Persona games, and Total War. So I think people will take notice when
They're doing
they
well
go to
there.
the event.
So I think Sega, as a brand, they are trying to grow globally. They definitely make an effort, and from what I can see for the photos, and what Meisuko said in the DMs about Sega, they really tried. They really tried to show their presence there. And
it did make a difference. The same was Nintendo. You saw like that booth was like 30 odd like games were just spread out, which anyone could basically just play on. And that again is just showcasing off the difference between Nintendo, I suspect, right now, and PlayStation and Sony. They just like, well, here we are. Here's our product. Go play it. And I can tell you now, a load of people who went and probably played those Nintendo games, played that Nintendo product, whether they have it or don't even have it, will probably end up, if they don't have it, will probably end up buying one of them, or at least be more interested. I can guarantee now, the fact that I played the Sega Sonic Superstars, I'm sold on it. And I was hesitant, and it was great to have that there, because it's like, that's it. It's a day one purchase for me now, so they've already made at least one purchase, and that's the thing. There
we go.
It's a great thing. I think Stubbs was saying something, but he's gone quiet.
Hello? Yeah, no, I've put it on the screen now. That's all. Just saying.
Oh yeah. I mean, this for me, I was hesitant in terms of Sonic games. Sonic games. If you're a fan from the old Sonics, I've found that generally they have never hit the nostalgia quite right. There's always something it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't hit the old style, doesn't fit the actual, I don't know, the feel of Sonic. They've always managed to make, for me, it just managed to almost get there, but there's something missing. This one was, I think, is going to be, at least for me, it hits the nail on the head for nostalgia, and it hits the nail on the head for innovation. So I think for nostalgia, people like myself who want that old school Sonic gameplay, that smoothness, that fast, that speed ability, plus all the different things that have come from Sonic, I think it will hit. This seems to me, at least when I was playing it, hit every single thing perfectly. And for new players, this is going to be fun, just as fun as well. I left grinning, put it this way. And so I'm very happy with the fact that it does seem, at least from what I've played so far, that this is now back to the original Sonic ethos. As long as there's not any microtransactions in it or any silly stuff like that.
It does look good. What
it was fun as hell.
What consoles did Sega let you try it on? Was it PC or was it PlayStation? Or
there was PlayStation was there. I think they had Xbox as well. But there's 4 rows, and I only managed to get into the first 2.
What did you play it on then? What controller were you on?
I was actually on PlayStation, and I enjoyed it.
Well, lucky BMG who's not arrived yet. He said, "Well, greatness awaits."
I played Infinite World also on PlayStation.
The Yakuza, I must admit, I played on Xbox, so they clearly had both systems there. So, yeah, it was for me, it was, even with a PlayStation controller, I haven't played PlayStation for about a couple of years now, I still found myself thoroughly enjoying it, so, for me, it's kind of one of these things. It's going to be a day one kind of purchase for me, I think.
Is it like 55 quid? Is that the price of it?
I don't know, Joshua. This is the thing. I say it's day one purchase. It's day one purchase when I can afford it.
Yeah, exactly. It does look good, but obviously I know some people have been moaning about the price, but it's not just like they've just re-released it. They've
it's not a remaster.
They've built it from the ground up, literally.
Yeah, and you can see this in the gameplay. It's got everything that was so you had like special stages. It's got all the special stages from previous games thrown in there. It's got 4 different characters you can play with. It's got different boss types. It is much more than what any previous Sonic game was, but it still seems to hold true to the ethos of Sonic, which is that enjoyable platforming at speed. It still has that everything, and with new elements added into it. So for me, it was just like it hit that nostalgia at the same time as bringing something fresh and new to the thing. So this is the sort of thing I was thinking of when they were saying, "Oh, we need to do more Sonic in terms of games." If they can keep this sort of this ethos up, maybe Sonic will come back as Mario has. Mario is this could be the the fresh new franchise that sediments Sonic back into Sega again.
Yeah. So obviously, was there any big Yakuza games to try out there by any chance?
There was, yep. There was Yakuza Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name. Yes.
Any good?
It was. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
How long did they let you play of it? Like 10 minutes or something? Was it?
It was. I think it was about 20 minutes. I actually got screwed over slightly.
Did you really?
Because I lost about 5 minutes because my headset wasn't working. And so they spent 5 minutes working out. But he gave me one of the actual showcases there, or publishers there that was there. He basically gave me a hint to go to a certain area first. He said, then you'll get the most out of it. So ironically, instead of me just basically wandering around, because he's like a little mini hub area, he kind of said, look, go here, you'll get the most out of it. So he gave me a hint, and I probably got I got to play things that probably other people didn't do.
Yeah, because they are quite big games, aren't they? They are. No, yeah. That's good to say. Welcome, Indie Gamer. Another EGX goer has arrived in chat.
Indeed. But yeah, I again, it really only showcased off the battle aspects of the game. It didn't show you anything like else. I think that's because it wants to keep a lot of the original, all the other aspects of the game for people to discover and enjoy. But the fighting sequences of the way you can literally go into these arenas and just attack, I don't know, waves of characters. You can do it yourself, or you can probably go into with a group of people, like a little team, and attack these characters. It was fun as hell. It was really enjoyable. It's more along the lines of Kwame versus not like a dragon. Yeah, so it's not tactical based. It's actual free. It's more back to the Kwame, which is basically, isn't it, freeform punching and sort of thing. It's not a tactical sort of.
Oh, sounds good. Well, I've been recommended by VJ because I've been on what Yakuza to play, to go for number 6 and then into the man that raised his name. It will make more sense, he said.
Yeah, I think that sounds to be right. Yes. But that's great.
But did you have any? What's it called? Also, is this here? Now, Meisuko did mention to me there was a sizable retro corner. What was that like?
Very much.
Was that fun?
Yes.
What kind of games did you get to play there?
Go on, Meisuko. This is for you.
Yeah, I played after the hours. Well, after 6 p.m. they closed most of the venue.
Okay.
And, in the backside there was the retro corner and some other entertainment there. So there was loads of arcade cabins, and there was Afterburner and Outrun.
Nice.
So those were the big cabins that they had there. And besides those, they had tons, like so many different classics there. Like there was even Frogger there, and and there was many things that I had never get the chance to play, like I get to play PC Engine for the first time. Even send a VJ a picture of it, like look what I found here. So that was super fun, and yeah, we even had a small round of competition in GoldenEye on N64 with India, and there was Lou also there, and Mathgy were there. So we were playing
Who
some
won?
of that one. I think Indy won. Indy
Good.
won.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was real fun. Real fun.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's like the retro corner. It was huge. Like I would say the retro corner had like, if I would say like close to half of the playing positions there. If you would think about like where people can play, it could be like half or 1/3 of the whole venue. So there was a lot to play there, a lot. And yeah, I guess Removable Sanity didn't have time to go there.
Indie Gamer celebrating his Indie Gamer says he's the GoldenEye champ. Thank you all. LOL.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was too busy chatting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did spot it there. But I must admit, it's one of those things that it was a shame I couldn't stay with you guys later on and enjoy some of the retro goodness. But I had to get back. Unfortunately, kids and wife, they come first. Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, I really think that I have to find that shmup game, one of the shmup games on some emulator that I get to finish that one.
You got to speak to Daz about that. I'm sure he'll be able to help you.
Yeah, hook me up. Yeah, it's really good to try them in the original form. Like what was it? There was one, Donkey Kong. Is it Donkey Kong? The original 1981 game.
Where basically throwing barrels down and Mario jumps over them.
Yeah. Yeah. So the quality of that cabin was maybe one of the best at the event. It's so old, but the quality of the picture and how they had positioned the monitor there, it looked like so crisp and so good. It's definitely worldwide to check those out also if you are there.
No. If you're a retro fan, they did have a very nice selection of retro games there. And it was a bit of a shame. I didn't get a chance. It's one of those things that you can, if once you've gone through the rest of the event, after hours event, that is going to be like perfect for having a beer and enjoying some retro gaming with your friends. And that's one thing I did like. It's they've tried to make it a little. They've tried to add things in that will keep people there regardless, or entertain people as well, sort of thing. So it's not as if the EGX. I was just saying, well, this is it. That's it. That's the showcase. They are trying to push it in other areas to enjoy, what's going on. And it's if you're into your retro games, they do have a nice sizable chunk for you to play.
Yeah, and on Friday you noticed that the cosplay presence was it was coming up, like it was much more than the first day on Thursday. So there was a lot of more of cosplayers.
I went there Friday, so I didn't get to see all the lovely cosplay.
Yeah.
I just got to saw some of the little bits that were there on Thursday. Yes, I suspect Fridays and Saturdays is when they're really going to be pushing the cosplay aspects to it, and there are some amazing people who can do some amazing cosplay. So if you're into cosplays, that is also a good thing as well. And for those who maybe have never gone to EGX and are coming into London, getting to XL is now actually easier than ever. They have built a new line called the Elizabeth line. So if you are coming, say, from the north of England down into London, and you get into Liverpool Street, it is actually a very nice and simple way to get into the EXL Centre. It used to take about 20 to 30 minutes. Now it's only about 5 or 10 minutes. It's actually only about 3 stops because of this new line. So for those who may wish to go think about it next year, it's even easier now to get to this event. So, and I would recommend if you can, try it out.
Yeah, I was coming with that line also. So it was very, very, very convenient coming from the, Heathrow. Yeah.
Yes, it's very much so. So I would recommend it for those who who'd like to try it out. It would be a wise move. And isn't it right, Stubbs? Cough, 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 cough.
I'll try for next year. It is my 40th birthday next year, so might try and come down.
It then. Yeah.
To be honest, with you going Meisuko this year, I'll be honest. When I seen you all with photos, I did wish I was there. To be honest,
I did.
Yeah, I got a FOMO.
Yeah,
I did. But no,
it's good if I could inspire you to come also.
Well, I'll try and make it next year.
Put it this way: if Meisuko can come from Finland to this event,
there's not
really much of an excuse for yourself, and you live in the UK.
Exactly. But do you have any favourite indie games? I'm hoping that a VJ can watch on screen because I've got some trailers that. Because you there, VJ?
Yep.
Sorry about that. It's just that they were talking about EGX. That was all.
Oh yeah, no worries.
But I'll put some trailers up because basically all the games that Anime I'm still doing that for me. No, Removable Sanity and his video. I've got the trailers for. So this is.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did. These were like 8 games, 8 trailers that kind of hit it out of the park. But don't get me wrong, there's a hell of a lot more there than what is on the screen now. There is a hell of a lot more there. It's just for me, these were the ones that shone the highest. I think, to be honest with you, there was literally there's over 100 games there, so it's hard to pinpoint out the best ones. There's loads of games there that are just fantastic, and so I kind of just picked some ones that kind of the ones that hit the hardest to me. I know that for Indy, for instance, he'll have a whole different selection of games that will hit for him. I'm sure, Meisuko, you had a whole different selection of games that were there that you really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And what I liked about it was that some of the games that were there, this was their very first showing. So we saw games like the game on here, which is called The Precinct. This was its very first showing at this event. It hadn't been seen anywhere else in the world at that time. It literally had only been dropped at that event. And it's the same thing with, I think it was called Resistor.
Yeah.
That was only, it was there, wasn't it? There's certain games that are literally like, this is our very first showing. Here you go, and I think that's fantastic. It really, I said, this blew me out of the water, and this was one of the very last games I played at the event. I was like, oh my god, I just really fell for this game hard, and I was like, wow, I did not expect. As you well know, isn't it, Meisuko? I don't think I stopped talking about it for about 25 minutes, did I?
That Resistor was also surprising. Like, did the person at the event mean like it was like the very first, like not even trailers were released like before?
No, they did do some trailers on the social media, but this was the very first playable demo, alpha build of those games. Same as this one. This had never been. It hadn't been. You couldn't play at any other event. It had been. This was their very first time. And it's just like one of those ones that I just found it was just like I didn't expect it, and it was just like, here it is, I'm playing it right now, one of the very first alpha builds or beta, and it was just like, wow. It's again, it's one of these things about these good events is that you'll get to speak to some of these developers and publishers at games that you may not even know existed. And that's happened. It happened at Wales, and again, it happened here. There was games here that I didn't even know existed, and I would say I'm pretty clued up on the majority of indie games. I know I'm not no indie gamer, but I'm pretty clued up on social media with gaming, and still I'm finding new games I hadn't even clocked in my peripheral. And that's what these events are there for. They're there to try and showcase something that you may not have even thought about. So when you do play it, before you know it, you found yourself liking something that you may have never even thought about, playing.
Yeah. Definitely, there was games that I tried to take a open view and try different ones. There like there was that I don't know if you noticed that game, the lie detective, or is it lie detector game? That indie game.
Yes, I didn't get a chance to go on that one. That looked really good.
Yeah.
It was yes, I do remember. Oh God, that's frustrating. I know what you're talking about. I can't think of what it's called.
I can check if I have it
You might
saved
have it
somewhere.
as well.
Yeah.
There's some really innovation games there. Do you see the one with the laser? There was a laser game, which was basically
Now I found it, because I tried to took like pictures of the games that I tried, so that I remember them later. So the name was Dead Meat. Yeah.
Dead Meat. There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
Have a quick look on social media for Dead Meat, and you'll exactly know what me and Meisuko are talking about. It's just the sort of thing, though, isn't it? You'll find games that is just out there. It's just something that you just don't.
Yeah, definitely out there. So the guy was saying that it's using like artificial intelligence behind it to make the talking and responding feel a bit more real, like it would be a conversation. And but I think as a game it might have to have still some tweaking to do, because I managed to beat the game, or the demo, at least twice, and so I think it's a little bit work in progress. Yeah.
That's the thing, though, isn't it? It's this is what these events do. They bring you stuff that you probably would never think about playing, or they show stuff that is so out there that you wouldn't think about it. Would you remember the one that we saw, which was like, it looked like you was operating some sort of almost, it was like what was it? Just a bomb disposal unit in a box. Do you see remember the one where he walked into the left field collection?
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I didn't try it out, but yeah, it looked like super interesting. Yeah.
It was weird. It was quite unique, and I was like, for instance, here's another one that was it's on the screen right now, Prison City, and I was like, retro inspired, sort of. I think it's Metrovania sort of game, and I was like, dear God, this is just a really fun game. And it's just little games like this I would never have thought about, playing. But once you play and get into it, you're just like, oh, I can't stop playing it. There's little things like this that I just like. That's what these events do. They showcase off stuff that you may not have even thought about playing. And once you give it a chance, you could discover a brand new genre that you may not even have thought about entering or playing with. And that's why I think you should go to these events. But apart from that, totally. What did you? Was there any other games that you that shone for you?
Well, I I have to say, because it's like short demos. Of course, you get a feeling of the game, but it's a little bit hard for me to judge of the games. So I would say like okay, I get the feeling like how the game feels to play like we were playing this game that was similar like Hollow Knight, this bow and what's
Oh
the
yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes,
the
it
full
was.
name was bow and now I have to take Indie's list out and check what was the proper name of that game. So yeah, that one felt like super good game, like the tactical feeling,
Mhm.
how it responds to the controls, and bold path of the teal lotus. I found it. Yep. So yeah, that one was really good, and it was funny when I was watching Indy play. He managed to break the game twice. So and
He does
that
that for
was
that.
good. Yeah. so it's good to see that he would have the chops to be a quality assurance personnel
Basis,
for a
yeah.
game.
What can
Yeah,
he break?
yeah,
As I must admit, I broke one as well. I think this is
yeah.
what another thing is. I can't remember which one. What was the one I broke? It was actually Resistor. I broke this one. Resistor. I broke.
Did you
Ah,
break it?
Um,
Oh, damn
I
on.
actually, yeah, I broke it. It was and it was just basically it was just I don't know, I fell through the actual floor effectively,
ah,
because I did something that I didn't expect, as I would.
yeah,
But it's
yeah,
one of those
Pretty
things. It's
cool.
that these are the
yeah.
things that you can do, and they were actually they're not like angry about it. They find it really helpful because it helps them
Yeah,
understand
yeah.
what the players actually, because
Mm.
what you think a player is going to do versus what a player is actually going to do is very different in some cases. And so we become free beta testers for them sometimes at these events.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
so I mean, I'm happy with that. I get to play games,
Yeah.
and enjoy myself, sort of thing. And it was, it was. I don't know. In fact, I do love these events. I really do. I want these events to kind of thrive, to move forward, to exist. I don't want these events
Yeah.
to slow down. In fact, I want more of these events. I'd like to see these events in
Yeah.
every country. I'd like to see big events like this in Finland. I'd like to see more of these events in Poland. I'd like to see more of these events, regardless of where it is, in more countries, because what it would mean is that hopefully then we would push more gamers to travel and go to these other countries. And see it from a different cultural perspective. You think about it. If you had like some of the stuff that you said some of the events in Finland are much smaller. Do they not have?
And they are like this kind of multi-purpose events. So
Yes.
it's like a digital event that has electronics and very small part gaming. So yeah.
So,
So that kind
would
of
you say
events.
these events are much more? I would say not indie focused, but much more focused in general about what they're showing down.
Yeah, definitely more focused. So, and I think that one thing that a little bit is a thing that was interesting, like the difference between the different booths. Like some people were super knowledgeable, and some people were like, I'm just working here, and it's like it wasn't really good experience, like some of them out there. And it's
I think
hard. Yeah.
I think it depends on the game. I think some couldn't make it over to these events due to costs. So obviously they have to hire out individuals to help promote them at these events. They can ship the game there. Like for instance, Prison City, he couldn't. The developer couldn't actually make that event. So what he'd done, he set up a webcam. So where you played the game, you could actually you could chat to him on the webcam. The only thing was, unfortunately, that was only 2 booths, and there was 4 booths, and unfortunately, one of the more booths that I was in wasn't connected to here or the developer sort of thing. So there are other ways around it that for you to discuss with them. But yes, you're right. There are some out there just like this is only publisher only. I did run into a lot of the times was like, are you the developer? And they're like, no, we're the publisher. And it does. But remember, some of these guys are very small developers. They don't have that sort of cost to kind of come to these events, and these events are not cheap. I was speaking to some of the actual developers, and they were saying the cost of these things are quite a bit of money, sort of thing, just to kind of showcase off. And a lot of indie developers don't have that budget. So if it means it has to go through a publisher, and the publisher takes over. Then okay, so be it. You know, and what I would think is for the bigger events, I'm not so worried that the developers there don't turn up. This is much more a bigger event. It's much more, mainstream. I think the indie focused events like WASD, that's where they should probably try and see if they can turn up, because that is much more indie and development focused.
Do you think they need 2 WASD events a year?
I think so. I think it's. I think for me,
because like Indie Gamer was saying there, the more events you have, the more watered down it could become. So you see what I mean? You've got to be careful there.
Well, I would agree so with the. I would agree so for the big mainstream events.
Because you also got to be careful. There's events at PAX and not to clash with other events around the world.
Exactly, and that's the thing.
Because they will choose PAX over everything. They will.
Yeah, the big top tier events you can't really have too many of. The smaller events, I think you can. So they do like indie jams. For those who don't understand what indie jams are, smaller events. Actually, just like sometimes college or developers trying to get into the industry normally happen quite a bit around, at least around the UK. But for stuff like WASD, I think it is very good because one in, I think it's April or March and April, that gives you chance to, say, for instance, showcase off your game there, because you may not be able to do it later in the year because you're having to go to one of these other big events, which do actually have the hand, where if you've got 2, you can kind of pick and choose. Right, I can't go to the March event, but I can go to the September, October event.
Do you also think, though, a factor also for like developers is probably what Indy's suggesting, and I could see it being a cost, because obviously you have to pay for your pitch at EGX, but obviously you've also, some of these developers are coming from other countries, so you've also got to pay for all your accommodations and flights, etc. So they might mean the costs including flights, hotels, etc., as well as the price. So do you know what I mean? Because they might be on about, because they've got to fly over, book hotels, etc. That would also be, they'll class that as the cost as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they will do. Yeah, that's why the publishers sometimes can pick up those costs. It's easier for them to pick up those costs than, say, an indie developer to do so. So they have to choose carefully which events they go to, which is going to give them the best PR. So if you're going to, say, Gamescom, PAX, or EGX, you want to choose. You may only have maybe the budget to go to one of those, even the Tokyo event. You may only have the chance to go. I was speaking to some of the developers, and they was like, "We can only go to Tokyo and Gamescom. We don't have enough funds for it." The smaller events, they were actually they actually had the chance to go to those because it was smaller costs, smaller abilities. But for the bigger ones, it was like, that's it. We can only do one big event a year.
Different perspective here. Indy says interesting. I heard the price is reasonable from people I spoke to, as I was wondering. I don't think the EGX price is high from what he's heard. It's probably more the travel expenses and so on. So it depends.
Why did Sammy guy did say very differently? This, when you guys went on, I did ask him that question, and he said the costs were not cheap.
It depends who you ask, though, really, isn't it?
It is, and I think it maybe for the, I don't know, or at least what he was saying to me was that the the cost. Basically, first of all, you pay the cost for actually attending. Then you pay the cost for hiring out the booth. Then you pay the cost for hiring out the chairs. Then you pay the cost for. He was saying to me, it was actually depending on how many screens and stuff, you had to pay for that as well. So it was actually when you titled it up, that was quite a large number of cash to kind of put forward. Wired Entertainment, the guy we spoke to right at the beginning, Indy. I can't think of his name. It's going to frustrate the hell out of me. The one with the beard, the guy who was actually main from a game.
The guy for the that bulwark.
He went through and kind of detailed it out for me, and I was like, really? And I was like, yeah. He said it's for the bigger ones. He said it was quite expensive. For WASD, actually, it was actually a lot cheaper. Now, admittedly, this also does to do with location as well. So he was actually in a pretty prime location. Maybe for the smaller ones, they can club together, or in some cases, he did say that he knows that of some publishers will combine the costs together if they're really good friends. So that was quite intriguing, which was like, hearing that some of publishers, if they're like, okay, we've got about 6 booths, you've got about 6 booths, how about we split the cost a little bit? And I was like, okay. Is it Wide Productions? Yes, not Wide Entertainment, Wide Productions. But it was intriguing to hear about these things, because you don't know what's going on unless you're a content, unless you're actually hiring a booth out, and it's actually intriguing to find out what the actual costs are for all of these elements. But again, it's one of those things. I think the big events. I think you can probably minimise them. You can probably keep to what we've got. I'm quite happy for small events to go on. I'm quite happy for a hall to be set up and have 30 games in it. I don't mind that sort of thing. I've been to a few indie jams sort of things where they're like, where it's enjoyable sort of thing where they can go in and just showcase other games off. I think it gives them. Small events, I think, is a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing.
When it comes to promoting games, though, although as you promote games over 4 days, although some may say it's high, they may not. It's all about getting, like Indy says, eyes on the game, and it's a marketing tool being at EGX. Yeah. So either way, if it is low or if it is they deem high, it's still valuable in the fact that you've got eyes on your game. It's advertising still. So do you know what I mean? There'd be a lot of people there that probably would never look at some of these games generally.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing, and that's what I said. He said it's good to kind of blend both. You need the indie small events as well as the big events. The big events will give you the biggest eyes on it, without a doubt. Let's face it. That will always happen. The small events, you may get a smaller number of eyes on it, but what you might get is a more loyal fan base. With the bigger events, when they're at their peak, you're just going to get people wandering through, playing the game, and then wandering out again. So you haven't got always time to engage and connect with your player base. With a smaller event, you can connect with your player base. It's one of those things. It's hard to determine. I think you kind of need to do a little bit of both. And I think listening to the developers that I've spoken to, they try to do a bit of both. They try to do the smaller events and the large events, but they only have a finite resources. So whatever works for the individual developer. It's the same thing with publishers. I spoke to people who were self-publishing, and I saw people who went with publishers. Some publishers can take the biscuit in terms of the requirements, and some publishers don't. It varies depending on developer. Some developers wanted to go fully independent because they had a bad experience with the publisher. It all kind of depends on the individual's tastes and wants, I think. For me, though, I think the more options there are, the better. That's the thing. I think it's the more options there, the better. And it means that more people get to see these amazing games that are being showcased and shown off. It doesn't take any. It's not going to take anything away from the big events, regardless. The big events will still be big events. They're going to be shining regardless of what they do, unless of course the big events lose big sponsors.
Sounds like it was busy on Saturday from what Indy and Luke was saying.
Well, it will be, yeah. Saturday
Luke,
and Sunday will be.
You needed me with you to put me in front. You'll soon get through.
It's Saturday and Sunday is the public event. So for those that don't know, Thursday, Friday is generally your publishers, your journalists, your content creators, people, maybe your hardcore fans who will take the days off work. But your Saturday and Sunday for EGX is your public, and that is where it's going to be an absolute. That's where the big bulk load of people will be coming in.
Yeah, put me and Meisuko at the front. We'll get you all through. Two giants.
Two bouncers. I tell you, it's like
what is it called in this American football? Those guys who are in the front.
The fridges.
Oh,
yeah. Good.
But no, we're gonna have to. Great topic. But I think we're going to have to move on to a different one because we've spent nearly 50 minutes on that. We have. It was a good conversation. Right, so as we like on this show, we're going to talk about... Basically, Xbox has made a great Japanese push, and it's become more and more evident. There's been more and more Japanese games coming onto the Xbox platform. Do you think... I'm going to ask VJ because he hasn't spoken in a while. Do you think Xbox seen the success with certain Japanese titles and that's why they're expanding the portfolio? More Japanese developers are interested in coming to Xbox, VJ? Because I'm noticing more and more are appearing. Not just Yakuza and Persona. Other games are starting to come as well.
I haven't really noticed anything beyond the Yakuza games or... the Persona games. They seem to be the biggest highlights, right? So I think it's just a case of those games that are coming out on Xbox are just from publishers that are looking for additional revenue streams, and it's just about supply and demand. And Xbox has a demand; they have a shortage, but they have the volume of subscriber income, right, to pay for these games. And I think companies like Atlas and so on and so forth. It's just purely a numbers game. If the numbers that Microsoft offer make sense to them versus the risk of shipping and publishing a product physically or even launching it digitally, and Microsoft are prepared to stump up the development costs and a decent amount in return, then it makes sense to go into Game Pass, right? Unless they've got a marketing deal or some other kind of deal from either Nintendo or from Sony. But I think that the most interesting games that have come to Xbox, I think it was Like a Dragon. I think when that came to Game Pass after launch, pretty soon after the launch of the hardware, was really good. And I think that the Man Who Erased His Name being digital only, I think that it'll be out on the PlayStation. But again, I think that those sorts of games, because we don't actually have the numbers in front of us, I think that they're looking at the sales on the Xbox hardware in Japan will probably be negligible. In Asia, it'll be negligible.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how popular the Yakuza series, even though it is getting more popular, it's still a very niche fan base. And I think that the hardcore gamers, the 20 or 30 million Xbox users that are out there, they're predominantly the ones that are going to be playing this game. And if it comes into Game Pass, and for the fourth quarter, I think it's November the 9th. I think it's good going, and it makes sense. Because I never thought it's $50. I don't know how long the game is. It doesn't quite have the same appeal as the traditional Yakuza stories that Kiryu-san's been in. It seems like I'm not sure. It
crossover.
could be DLC plus, or it could be, you know, a slightly watered down sort of prequel, right? To or an epilogue and a epilogue to Yakuza 6 and a prequel to well, it said in your video there, right? You really should play The Man Who Erased His Name before Like a Dragon 2 Infinite Wealth, because the stories are connected. So
Oh,
I
okay.
just think it just makes monetary sense for the developer. It reduces their risk, and Xbox get a good game in Game Pass. But again, I think it's predominantly going to be for the people that were going to play it anyway, that may or may not have bought it physically. And I just don't think that the Xbox sales were probably high enough at a certain point in time to justify not taking the deal that Xbox has to offer. And I don't think it probably cost them as much as we think it perhaps did, right? Or perhaps does.
Do you think, VJ, that maybe the hard work that Xbox put in with maybe the Japanese developers is starting to pay off slightly? Or is it that maybe they're a little bit more open now they've seen at least maybe the Xbox community kind of welcome,
I think
a bit more
there's
welcoming?
I think there's two things here. The Xbox, it was just something that Mr. Stubbs said. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if it was in a Twitter message or if it was used, but it was something about they've made some new appointments. What I can tell you that even up until about 18 months ago, I spoke to some people in Japan. The management team of Microsoft in Japan was a complete laughing stock, just not very good hires. And I think we talked about it on this show, the fact that Phil Spencer is spending more and more time in Japan and or Asia Pacific because he's having to do so because of the reputation or the way that they're being perceived and presented by the team that they've assembled in Japan alone, which is quite disheartening, really, or quite disappointing, really, from a management and from an executive perspective. So, and at the same time, you've got the CEOs, you've got the VPs at Sega, Capcom, Konami, who know the guys over at Sony really well, and as much as I don't have an issue with Jim Ryan, I think someone being in charge of Sony is going to make more sense in Japan. You know, driving Sony PlayStation, regardless of the fact if they've got Jack Trenton or Andrew House or whoever else, you know, running US divisions. So for me, it's been a failure on Xbox's part, and now they're having to play catch up. But it's very easy for them to play catch up because I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to one thing: a willing buyer with the capital to spend, and publishers looking at their current situation, which changes from quarter to quarter. We've seen it with Capcom with their ups and downs, right? They were nearly down and out 5-6 years ago, right? And taking them a lot to turn around, especially if you look at Hideki Kamiya, one of their one of their cornerstones, right, of the company, right? And Shinji Mikami leaving as well, right? And they've had to rebuild their studios with new talent, and then they are not, you know, concerned because they've obviously diversified their business very much so, and so is Konami. So you've got smaller companies. I want to say smaller, but smaller in terms of publishing revenues, right? Like Sega, Atlas, which is owned by Sega, Irem, and so on and so forth. We're owned by Square Enix, and those are the people that are still. Those are the companies that are still trying to make sure that ends meet. And I think it was Meisuko that's put something in our DMs that Sega had lost like $100 million, or when I know it's not a huge amount of money to them, but it's still a significant loss, given the fact that, you know, they're, like Stubbs is saying, well, they're having an upturn, right, with the quality of their games, and the people that are picking up Yakuza. So I think at the time right now that Microsoft have the leverage in the terms that, look, we're very strong in Game Pass. We've got ABK, which may or may not put off, you know, certain companies, because I think what Microsoft and Sony have been trying to do is emulate Nintendo, who over the last 20 years have not been relying on third party
No.
developers or third party publishers, if at all, right? They've become pretty much self-sufficient, and Sony have been trying to do it for 2 decades, and it's not easy. Microsoft has said, look, it's almost impossible for us to even build a game ourselves, so we'll just have to go out and acquire as much publishing or portfolio real estate as we possibly can, and they've got the resource, power, and influence to do it, regardless of what governments and government regulatory bodies that exist out there. Because when you've got that kind of power and influence across the globe, because governments only operate vertically, that they can do pretty much what they want. And if they can't, they can spend 10, 15 years figuring out a way to circumvent whatever is out, circumvent the lay of the land, put it that way. So I think right now it's just all about, they've got cash to offer, and whether it's 50 million, 100 million, 200 million dollars, it's an insignificant amount to Microsoft, but a significant amount to publishers that can change the face of the company and the success and the year-end results that they're projecting to their shareholders. So right now, if you look at Microsoft, the amount of content that they've got with this ABK deal going through, it's pretty much for those guys. It's becoming a buyer's market. But I think like Yakuza, like your Final Fantasies, like your Dragon Quest, like your Persona, can you name, can the average guy in the street name any other franchises out there other than, what Capcom and Konami hold and Sega hold, that is going to really influence, whether or not they stay within Game Pass. So I think in a matter of time, as I said to you, I'm still looking forward to the day when Microsoft do publish some of their really older titles, right, on PlayStation, and PlayStation do vice versa, because there's going to come a point of convergence at some point. And I said this 2-3 years ago, but the possibility, it may not be inevitable, but the possibility still remains, right? And it's just a case of you own the content, because content is king. Because without content, can you even be a platform holder, right? So it really is an interesting point in time right now. But yes, having content that appeals to a mass audience across the globe is really important. So, and the Japanese, we often talk about Japanese content, whether it's the movie industry, the music industry, the dramas, whether it's anime, whether it's comic books, whether it's manga, whether it's video games. It's inevitable, right? Because of the influence that the Asian creators, whether it's South Korea, Japan, and Hong Kong, and even Taiwan and Singapore now, right, where their dramas, it's just about to explode over there, right? I mean, Liza P being one of those games. So yeah, I think and Liza P is a really good example, right? A South Korean developer, we probably wouldn't have paid much notice to. Game Pass has done a significant job for them, I would assume, right? Besides the fact that their press kits were fantastic and the reviews have been really, really good. So they're able to sell that game on PC and PlayStation. No doubt it will come out on the Nintendo Switch too as well. So yeah, I just think it's just the financial predicament that certain publishers find themselves in terms of finances and what Microsoft have to offer, whether they like Microsoft or not, is relevant.
Yeah. Vijay, I have a question for you, because you might know more about this, because it from Japan we got pretty good this public information about the different consoles selling. So it has been like a downhill for PlayStation, even in the homeland, for quite a while now. Like that they have also, they are not selling so many consoles like the PS2 days. Like that, Nintendo Switch is definitely like number uno, like by quite a mile. So do you know like how is the that general environment in Japan? Like, is it like Switch, mobiles, and what about PC? How does that come to the Japanese market?
For me, the content that Nintendo make, if you look at all of their designs and all of their IPs, right, they've been established in Japan for the last 30, maybe 35 years, right? Zelda, Mario, and they're evergreen creations. But even look at Nintendo, how many new characters do they really develop, right? How many new characters does Disney really develop, right? Other than having to pick up Pixar, correct? So and if you look at if you look at Microsoft, and if you look at Sony, they've both found it predominantly easier to find creators of content or beloved characters in the West. Sony have tried for decades, right? Even during the PS2 days, right? In terms of trying to create mascots, would you call them? Can you call them that, right? And unfortunately, none of them have stood the test of time, right? None of them have been reimagined as quite as well as Nintendo keep managing to do it over and over again. And you only have to look at, the one thing you can say about Sony, right, that they managed to, Santa Monica Studios, that's why I have them in high praise, is that without Corey, would they have reimagined God of War? So, and Insomniac, obviously, with Spider-Man, right? But that's probably more about design and technology, versus reimagining, and obviously the Batman games from Rocksteady. But the point being, though, is that I think that you only have to look at Sony. I think 4 or 5, well, maybe actually longer than that, probably about a decade or 15 years ago, they started to invest heavily in mobile content. And I think, is it the second or the third most popular game there is owned by Sony Pictures or Sony Music in terms of mobile?
Yeah, it's called Le Grand. Is it Le Grand or something? It's one massive
it
game.
was one of Fate games.
Fate Le Grand, I think it's something like that.
So Sony are a huge brand in Japan. They just don't have the mascots that live within the minds of multiple generations in Japan, like Nintendo do. So Nintendo will always be ahead. But I was saying, in terms of creativity, in some respects, you can say it's drying up because no one is really creating mascots like they used to or could do so many years ago.
Well, let's think of it. There's 3 main mascots everybody could probably know about. Easily Sonic, easily Mario. What other big mascots that have transcended decades?
The only other one is that Rodney Trotter Mickey Mouse wears a Rodney Trotter wristwatch.
Exactly. It's and it's hard to do, isn't it? Let's face it. If mascots were easy to do, we'd be swaying bathes with them in terms of gaming. Now, they aren't saying that there isn't mascots, up and coming mascots. You can potentially say, Halo, Gears. Potentially, I would say
Sega,
now
Sega, if you remember.
Spider-Man, but Spider-Man's already a mascot anyway. But I was what's the other one? It's Horizon.
I'd argue that they don't transcend generations like the ones that you've just.
Sega bought Angry Birds.
They probably sit at a tier or two lower than the predominant ones that you mentioned.
Yes, I agree. But you don't know if those are going to continue, though. That's the thing, isn't it? They may continue. Yeah. We've got for instance, Mario and Sonic. I think they hit at the right time. I think they were of a generation that needed mascots. And I think today's generation probably doesn't need that many mascots. I think it's
no. This was relative to this was pertaining specifically to Meisuko's question about Japan. What is happening in Japan? That is, and where is Sony stand today? Where does Microsoft stand today? And where does Microsoft stand today?
Yeah, because I'm curious about Vijay's viewpoint to it, because I don't know, because you have to go where the people are playing. Like, is it Switch or is it mobile or is it PC? Because about PC and Japan, it has been for me hard to get information. Like it is pretty anecdotal.
I think you put it like this: if you take the popularity of Western movies in Japan, right? They still prefer anime. They still prefer dramas made in Japan. So what I think it would say, should speak to you, explain it to you this way, is that in the West, for quite a number, especially since Star Wars came out, I'm not a fan of Star Wars, but Star Wars started a technological or film-based revolution in terms of technology. But I think that if you speak to Japanese gamers, they aren't as hung up as our Western counterparts in terms of frame rates, in terms of aspect fidelity and aspect ratios and polygons and all that. They're not as technologically hung up on that as they are in terms of what is it that lights up a candle for that civilization, because fundamentally that Asian civilization is very different to Western civilization.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons why, if you think if you think about it, this is Vita's made a very good point here. You think about it, if you look at Western films, Western media, in terms of the way it's going, it's slightly crumbling, where Eastern media is absolutely rocketing forward. People now absolutely... Anime is becoming more and more popular. The stories within anime are true to themselves, are becoming more and more popular. Many people I'm speaking to now are kind of disillusioned with the Western film style of telling a story. It's becoming stale, where the Western storytelling has still kept its ethos. It's still kept the storytelling as the core aspect of what it wants to say. You know, the visuals are great and everything, but it's still the stories that transcend and keep going and keep pushing forward. With the Western side of things, I think they've lost this storytelling aspect to it, and they've gone for more visual bang for their
Can
buck.
I say something that might be a little bit reductive here? But the problem that I find with Western media, which I watch very little and listen to very little, is the fact that, and take Starfield, I'm not picking on Starfield, I just take Starfield. I spoke to several people. I listened to what Removal said last time we had a show. And the most common, the easiest way to put it is that Starfield and the people that have made it have emulated what they did before versus innovating. And and the more and more, and when I come across, I do watch some Western media. It plays in the house, or I'll walk past someone's laptop or in their room, seeing the TV, and it's the same thing again. Just the production values have gone up, the technology's advanced, and so on and so forth. But there was a game that Stubbs showed about several months ago. I don't know if you guys recall it. It's from a Korean studio, and I was really speaking highly of it. It was like a filmatic game coming out. I think it was called Project M or something like that, coming from South Korea. And
yeah.
I just can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to playing that game versus anything else that's out there at the moment. Well, it's one of several, right? I mean, let's be honest, right? About a month ago, I said my next set of games is going to be Sea of Stars, Starfield, and Spider-Man.
Yeah,
And the reality is, it was Sea of Stars, Celeste, Lies of P, and now it's Divinity Original Sin 2 on PlayStation, only because I've played through Lies of P twice. I was about to start a third run through, but it's just such a good game. I had to just look, you know what? I need to just get off the Xbox, play this game that I've been waiting to play, and divert my attention to Divinity Original Sin 2, which I've always wanted to play, and now I'm playing that. And that's the only reason why.
So not number 3, but you are playing 2 now.
Yeah, Divinity Original Sin 2. Yeah, I bought it. I think I told Removable I bought it at Christmas. It was at $20 on PlayStation Digital, and it's normally like 60. And I thought, wow, I'll buy it. But now I'm playing it. Yeah.
He's moved forward.
Sorry, I think I got it totally mixed up because I was that's the developer who made the Baldur's Gate 3, right?
Yeah, Larian Studios. Yeah. From Belgium. Yeah.
And you are playing now their own IP, the Divinity 2.
Yeah. Divinity 2.
Yeah. All right.
You say old IP. It's still, the game is held in very high regard, a very, very high regard. So, and I had a friend of mine, give him a shout out. His name's Dr. Peter Hodges, and he's played it a few times through. And it was about 3 years ago. He mentioned to me how good it was, and I only bought it. I only bought it at Christmas. Last Christmas it was on sale, and then I'm playing it now only just so that because I wanted to play Lies of P a third time, but
I haven't even finished the first one. You've gone through it a second time.
Oh yeah, I've lapped you, unfortunately. Sorry, but yeah,
you do that a lot. That's fine. It's fine. It's called time. Yeah, you have time to do that.
But going back to what Removable was saying. Sorry, Removable. Yeah, I think that the technology that's available, the opportunities that are available, Asia has always been ahead. They've done the whole PlayStation and console gaming, and really good graphics, and they've played their games. They play on mobile, but there's other entertainment available that we don't actually appreciate, because let's be honest, right? It doesn't matter how much education you've got. It doesn't matter how many certificates you have. It doesn't matter how much experience you have. It doesn't matter what you know, because all knowledge and all experience within one specific being is completely and utterly truncated, right? Fundamentally, we are just all ignorant, right? And that's why we have these shows where we can share our experiences and so on and so forth. But sharing an experience is like me showing you a trailer, unless you actually physically engage with that with either controller in your hand or in front of the screen watching something. You can't fundamentally appreciate. Doesn't matter what I say, right? Because words will always fundamentally fail you, because an experience or a game or a book or a movie or whatever, it's whether it's scored 1 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 and you're wondering what the review scores are all about, you have to experience it for yourself. Because if it lights up, that's the best, if it lights up a candle within you, when you have that moment of awe, when all of a sudden you have a non-dualistic movement or moment within you, then you know it's for you, if that makes sense. But and as I say, to remove one Stubbs on the show, quite often, is that we're blessed, in the time and the period that we're living in terms of how much there is for us to fundamentally enjoy, and you don't actually have to reach that far to find something that speaks to you.
Well,
as long as it creates a yearning in you, you're good.
Well, if I may say something, like I really enjoy like Japanese music. Like that's one of the
J-pop fan here in the house.
K-pop.
Yeah. No, it's J-pop, not K-pop.
J-pop or K-pop, yeah, either one I do.
J-pop.
Yeah. So no, it's like it's so nice that I am able to listen pretty much everything that is coming out from Japan music-wise nowadays. It's such a blessing compared to what it was like. Like how many years has it been? Like more than 25 years, when my friend was coming back from Japan and brought tons of CDs and mini discs with him from Japan, and I was listening those. So it's like
I remember mini disc.
Like,
I remember that.
Yeah.
Failed, but
Yeah.
I remember it.
Yeah. So it's like it's so nice to live in a era where it's so easy to listen to the music from that area of the world, and it's like,
you see Meisuko, right? I think it was on this show a couple of weeks ago, right? And we were talking about something, and I was chatting to Removable, and I was talking to him about when I was shipping games, the relationship between the French and Japanese market.
I remember that one.
Yeah, and we spoke about this, that during the 90s, I found that lots of Asian products were primarily shipping to France as the biggest market, not the only market, but as a predominant. It just stood out, right? And then obviously we played Lies of P, and then Removable said, like, don't forget, to collect records and stuff, right? Because you can play them in the hotel foyer and stuff like that. And I was doing a bit of digging, and I was wondering why. And I remember that when I used to go to Seoul, and when I used to go to Japan, and if you look at the coffee shops there, or even in Hong Kong for that matter, in the main cities, or you go past bakeries and so on and so forth, and you'll see that they predominantly have French names. And I looked a little bit deeper into it, and I realized that as far back as the 19th century, France has exchanged forms of wine, fine dining, stuff like culinary repertoire, even in terms of how governments are structured, and they've had that fundamental bond with an influence back and forth with Korea, South Korea, with Hong Kong, even though it was a British colony up until 1997, before the handover to China in June. And in Japan. And I don't know if you remember the DM that I'm in with you and Removable. It was just by chance. I posted a video about the Japanese boy and his wife that went to France to learn how to bake bread. And then, he opened up a small store in France as well, just to carry on the tradition of making bread the way the French make it. And that's why if you go to those cities, and it's just to do with the fact that when I was playing Lies of P, it just kept bugging me. Not bugging me, but in a really good way. That okay, so all of the songs, they've got 1 or 2 Korean tracks. They've got some really nice, Baroque period music being played, and then they've got all these French tracks playing as well, with French lyrics and so on and so forth. So I thought I'd just mention why, but I just thought it was wonderful. Yeah, sorry. I mean, you're definitely not going to go to Seoul or Tokyo, right, and find Sid's Cafe or Jim and Molly's Butty Hole or Casper's Daily Fish and Chips.
No.
Well, no, there are some English cafes over there, and you should know this because one of your guys that you watch, VJ, has shown some cases on the videos of, hasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, no,
I'm not saying it's not as prominent. I would say not as prominent. I know you're saying
not as high class. Yeah, not as culinary.
It is. Yeah.
It's like fine repertoire. Yeah, I was just kidding, Remove. I was just throwing a joke.
Yeah, our bacon butties are everywhere.
VJ has really good point there. Like besides that French influence, I have noticed like how much like the German speaking world has affected Japanese as well. Like like many of those philosophical and psychology. Many of the famous writers are from like 19th and 20th century, like German speaking world, and like how much they are influencing like Japanese media, depending on the subject matter. But if it's like this contemplating subject matter, it's quite often you notice that there are this kind of German influences in those.
You mean philosophers such as Schopenhauer, Nietzsche, Freud?
Yeah. I think every county or every country has given some sort of influence to everybody.
Yeah. It's true that it of course affects like the Western media as well, but it's like we the kind of like take it granted. It's like totally like embedded to our society and how we think about it. For Eastern side, it's more like new idea from their perspective, and they try to contemplate that idea more than we think about it. We take it for granted. It's already our, like we have internalized it. Yeah.
I would slightly argue the fact that I would say that where the Western influence has kind of spread already to the Eastern, and they've taken it on, and they've taken it on board, and they've worked with it, and they've developed it slightly. I would say now that actually I think the Western culture is starting to permeate over to the Eastern culture is starting to permeate over to the Western side. You can see that with anime. You can see that with that. It's storytelling.
Yes.
I think the Western have done their kind of spreading their cultural aspects to the world. I think it's now a Eastern's turn. I think that's what we're starting to do. We'll start seeing an Eastern's kind of influence. And I'd like to think that we, as forthcoming as they were, I'd like to think we'll be as forthcoming back. I think
just to comment on what Removable was saying there. I don't know if this is a barometer of any sort, Removable, but if we've got Netflix. I know a lot of people have Netflix, but I can only talk about the US as well. Is that if you look at Netflix, which is a US company, they have these shows now which they produce, and a lot of the shows that they're producing that are coming up in the feeds are produced in India, produced in
Mm-hmm.
Seoul, produced in Tokyo, Hong
Mm-hmm.
Kong, Singapore, Vietnam, all of those countries. And what you're finding, they're not shows which were released 6 months or a year or 5 years ago.
Mm-mm.
These are shows that are airing in those countries, and the worldwide release of the weekly episodes, because they're not like where you can release all on day one and you binge
Mhm.
them. They're actually on a weekly basis.
Yep.
And so they're creating content in those countries and launching it here for the Western audiences to digest on a weekly basis. So they're finding people are hooked on it and happy to wait a week to watch it. That's the trend right now. So
I
I
know
think
I
that
am.
speaks to support what Removable is saying, is that slowly but surely it is permeating, because I fundamentally believe that creativity in the West not died a long time ago, but it's being emulated in and disguised with technology versus
It hasn't
innovation
evolved
and
enough,
progression versus
unfortunately.
what the Eastern companies are capable of doing right now. Or
Yeah.
Eastern creativity is there at the moment, and it may shift again, right, in 10, 20
Oh
years.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. This is just a phase. I think it's a phase
Yeah.
between both Eastern and Western, and exactly to what VJ is saying. If I look through my Netflix shows, currently right now, it takes up predominantly Eastern influence. This is between me and my partner. We're predominantly watching Korean,
I found a new
Japanese,
show.
Chinese dramas than I am more Western.
It's Korean. It's not It's in America, I think, but it's Korean. It's called Kim's Convenience. It's real funny.
Oh, Kim's Convenience Store. That's Canadian.
Yeah, but the people in it are Korean.
No, they're Canadian.
The people in the shop are
They
Korean.
are Asian of descent, yes,
Yeah.
but they are actually Canadian.
Oh, okay, fair enough. But
I don't want you to insult a few people.
well, no, but they keep calling themselves Koreans though. In the program,
I actually think one of the main
playing
characters
a
is
Korean. The characters are
I just wanted to
Korean.
say,
Oh,
Liverpool,
okay.
it's quite funny because even though it's portraying a Korean convenience store, it's actually a Canadian of Oriental descent who's actually Chinese portraying a Korean.
Oh,
exactly.
Oh, okay. I don't.
Yeah,
I think it's funny anyway. I do. I think it's quite funny.
It is a
That's
laugh.
funny in itself.
I agree. I agree with you. It's Kim's Convenience is one of the more funniest things that's come out of Canada, and it's fantastic. I would recommend you watch it. But
Yeah,
as I said, for purely as like a Western, Eastern shows, there are some pure Eastern or Korean-based dramas that that we spend most of the time watching.
You'll have to recommend me some
because they are-
stuff to watch. You will.
I've got loads. There's some fantastic ones. And the best I can say is, okay, the dubbing. If you've got dubbing, it's great. If you can watch it in its original format, I would recommend so.
Yeah, with subtitles. Yeah.
Yeah, with subtitles. I would just say the storytelling is vastly different when it comes to an engaging story that seems to get better per series. That seems to be currently right now, and it may switch. It seems to be the Eastern that takes up the majority. That's not saying Western audience. There aren't some Western shows out there that are captivating. For instance, the Fall of Usher. I think it's what's called, the Fall of Usher. The Fall of the House of Usher is a Western series. It is fantastic, brilliant. I'm watching it right now. But that is minor compared. It's minor compared to the Eastern series that are currently out. There's stuff there that it connects. It's like the best I can describe it is frustrating. It's old school storytelling. They've got the old school storytelling that a story is there and it captivates you. And it doesn't matter whether or not it's the most graphically perfect or fidel. Whether you can say it's like some of the visuals is like, oh yeah, that's green screen. It's not the best visuals, but the story behind it is captivating. And so your body just doesn't care about the visuals aren't the most visually impressive in the world, because ironically it's the characters that you are invested in. And I'm just as VJ has pointed out, it does seem that this is it's either it hasn't evolved or it's become mundane enough that the stories are just retold, regurgitated. There's nothing seems to be fresh. Where at least with the Eastern thing at this current stage, and this is, as you said, it could be a trend. It could switch over very quickly. That seems to be still the case.
I don't think that they've hit their heights as to what they can do removable, and
no.
I just think the production values of Asian TV shows with companies like Netflix,
it's getting better. It's vastly improving.
Yeah. The production values, the production, the sets that they're based on, the quality of the sets, the music, the actors. And the writers, I think that with they were making the shows predominantly for a country with a population of less than England, and we all know, we all look at Doctor Who and think, my goodness, that could do with a few quid, and I know the new seasons do, but if now with Netflix,
well, it could do with some better writers, to be honest with you. It's not the money. I think it just needs better writers.
I'm glad. What's his name? Mr. Davies is back now to run at the helm of the show. So anyway, I don't want to digress, but I think with the Western company, especially Netflix, with the kind of funding that they're providing. I mean, I was watching something called Deadly Crimes, and it's very rare that I watch something like that. I watched it and I thought, my goodness, it really gives you a fresh insight into another country. It's like watching content from another world, because we talk about civilizations, right? It's just that the only difference between ourselves and people from the other side of the globe is just that we've just been brought up in different cultures, different fundamental civilizations. That's why we look at the world, and it's just like peering into another world. It really is, and how centuries have influenced the children of today. I use children in terms of we're all children of of our ancestors, effectively, no matter how old we are. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating and wonderful to see, and you learn a lot from it. Not just you learn about their culture and things that you never knew existed.
Their law, their history, their cultural experiences.
Rather than just the stories, the actors, the music, you get all of that on top of it, if that makes sense.
Their eating habits, their culture experiences, their music, their philosophy, the ideology, their geography of the area that they're potentially in. You get the whole package. Where maybe the Western side, you've seen, the Boulevard thousands of times. You've seen Californian depicted thousands of times, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what's slightly pushing a lot of the audiences towards the Eastern sort of experiences, because it is alien to them. It is a brand new, fresh thing, and that's maybe that's another helpful push in that direction.
Yeah,
there's some fantastic Finnish. There's some fantastic Finnish series out there.
I've watched a few.
I need to watch more by the sounds of it.
Oh, mate, honestly, it's. As I said, most of my series now aren't from the Western countries. They're really mostly from the Eastern.
Because it's like I've seen someone talking the other day about like a dragon, English dubbing, and he was saying, I was thinking to myself, when I eventually get to Like a Dragon, I don't think I want to hear the English dub. I'm so used to watching the subtitles at the bottom. I'd rather hear the Japanese on the screen and watch the subtitles.
Wrong. They do. I mean, they do a good job. A lot of the English dubbing is very good.
I was just about to say that, removable.
Nowhere as near as authentic.
You do have to give Sega a little bit of a nod there. Because
I'll have to have a look when I actually try it.
In the voiceovers for Judgment, Yakuza.
They stick very carefully. They are very well translated. There is no completely different translations. Like Japanese may say something like a Japanese, or I don't know, a Japanese proverb, for instance, we probably wouldn't understand it very well over here, but the explanation that is done by the English dubbing is understandable so that we understand what's going on. May sound a little strange, but we can understand dubbing to it, where 9 times out of 10 they'll do a straight, what I say, almost like a straight translation, and it makes no sense to the English audience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Removable. I don't know if removable. That's my only criticism of Lies of P. Besides it having brilliant art direction, fantastic level design, there's a gallery after where you can preview all the 80 to 100 main characters and enemy designs, all previewed in a 3D gallery. You know, the weapons and the weapons system as well. The customizable and crafted weapons system. The only thing is that I was looking through and I thought, where's the option to play the game through with Korean dialogue?
Does make me wonder.
Yeah, I was wondering. I didn't know.
Well,
we can't do it.
I suspect it probably is available, just possibly not for the Western audience.
That could be true. That could be true.
Because I suspect as much as we argue that some of us loves the Korean language, some of us loves the Korean dialect, it probably isn't palatable for a lot of Western audiences, and that's not being that's insulting the Korean terminology or dialect itself. It's just that unless, of course, you're used to that dialect, used to that way of phrasing, maybe it's too alien for Western audiences. I've noticed this with some Western games. They just don't put it in. You're like, well, why not? And it's just because it's like, well, it's pointless because they're never going to listen to it, which is a shame. You know, I don't know. I would prefer it's in there. But that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, no, it's just that I've played a few games recently. I mean, even Final Fantasy, right? You can switch the voiceover languages, etc., etc. I just didn't know whether I haven't done it. It just occurred to me because I was thinking of like sometimes I know with PlayStation when you set the territory, it automatically detects which territory and then plays the dialogue or the text accordingly. But I haven't looked into it. I was just going to start my third playthrough, and I thought, oh, can I play this game with Korean? And I went to the options and it wasn't there. And I thought, surely they did, Korean dialogue options, right, for the game. I'm not even sure. But perhaps there is only English. I just don't know.
It could be just because of the digital version. It is based solely on the as you said, the geographical location picks up and works it out based on the. If you're in England, it bases it on English subtitles or English speaking. Maybe that's what they're doing. I'm surprised it isn't, to be honest with you. But I know that it's strange. I think Japanese is probably more accepted and Chinese is more accepted in terms of terminology, in terms of switching over and listening to it than Korean. I think Korean's still taking its time to be accepted.
I just
think there's a slight. I wouldn't say prejudice, but I still do think there's a slight. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's a slight. It hasn't been fully accepted in terms of its terminology on the Western eardrums, which is a shame. I could be completely wrong here, but that's my gut feeling is that you've got to think about like Japanese and Chinese. How long have we had games? Actually, how long have we had media in itself in its native form sent over to us in terms of hearing? We've been hearing about Japanese and Chinese for decades now. We probably haven't heard that much Korean for decades. Probably in the last maybe a decade? 1 decade? Have we heard a lot about Korean dialect? I mean, I can't think of. VJ, you might know.
Right. Yeah.
Would you Korean dialect in terms of Western consumption probably hasn't been around for more than a dialect for a decade? Would you say?
You mean as a language?
No. I mean, as an import. to the west.
I mean, I'm trying to remember now. When I first
Was it in
bought,
the 90s? I don't believe it's probably more Japanese and
no, I
Chinese, wasn't
think,
it?
no, I'm just trying. I think it was in 2006 when I bought my first DVD collection. It was called My Lovely Samson. It was the first drama I watched. It was absolutely fantastic, and that was and very. So basically, they had two shelves in this Hong Kong store, and basically there was all these Korean dramas which were only in Korean, and then they had a section of about 7 or 8 dramas which had English subtitles. So that was in 2006.
So that tells me, and you're ahead of the curve, probably by a decade. That tells me we probably didn't get it really pushed over to the Western ears till say 2016.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I think it's potentially it hasn't caught up. When you think about Japanese and Chinese, there's
Actually,
1990s.
some games I was working on in late 2000 and I can only talk about video games here, but in 2010 we were being 2010 or 12 removal, we were being asked to include Korean in order for the publisher to take it. It has to have Korean subtitles.
So that's probably the reason why.
That was the latest I came across it.
Yeah, it's Korean dialect has kind of it hasn't had the fermentation.
But then again,
of the Chinese and Chinese.
Can I just say console game sales weren't as high as they are. They weren't as high as they were back then. It was predominantly PC, so I want to just add that as well. It's PC.
No, but I think the game. What you're saying is actually, as a general media consumption, gaming does provide you a very good barometer in terms of where the accessibility of it. And I think you could probably have said something similar, maybe with about 2 or 3 years difference for like just films in general, maybe.
Can I just I just want to throw something in there. I was just having a look. Removable. The full audio for the game is in English only, and the interface and subtitles are in many languages, including Korean. So no Korean full audio, which is quite surprising.
Unusual.
Really.
It's unusual, but possibly not unexpected. Because how many Korean games do you know of? Probably more than you realise, but how many Korean speaking games do you know of?
Only Project M.
There you go. So
there is that Stellar Blade coming.
But that's coming. I'm just saying, historically, the last 10 years, how many Korean games?
None.
Exactly. I think Korean is now starting to catch up with maybe the rest of Japanese and Chinese, which is great. It's great for everybody. But again, it's still probably a niche thing. Because also you've got to combine that with people who want to listen to that language. How many people want to listen to that language? I suspect there's probably loads of people who want to listen to Japanese and Chinese because they're used to it through to anime. Koreans probably hasn't got to that level yet, and maybe that's why, It's all quiet.
Yeah. Well, I was just about to say like that from my perspective, because I'm coming from a small country, so what we have been doing is always subtitles for everything. So it's for me, dubbing as a concept it's like it's
Alien.
the kind of disrespectful, like it still boggles my mind that there is TV news channels that I watch, English news channels, and then they are like having a person, prime minister, president, or whoever is making a statement, and if it's not English language that they are speaking, there is going to be some person who is going to be dubbing over that one. And I'm like, that's like, people who are watching the news can read, and it would be nice to hear the tones of the person speaking.
Well, to be the devil's advocate, some people cannot read and listen. I know a few people who cannot get on well subtitles. They just can. It's too much for them to read and engage with what they're looking at the same time. I would say it's the minority, but I have known people where they're like, I cannot do subtitles. If I can't hear it, I can't play it. But I understand your argument. I do see that it's something that you should, it would be better to have the original sounding voice, regardless of it, sort of thing. It's the same over here with Finnish dramas. We get this fantastic, Californian accent talking about how he likes to live in Finland. It's
I'd say, you can see both sides of it, and I like the fact when you can hear somebody speaking, you can't necessarily understand them. There's something to do with the vibration in one's voice that I find it easier to infer what they're actually saying versus the words that are coming out of their mouth.
That's a perfect example of that. So there's a meme going around about 6 months ago, and this guy is speaking. I can't remember what language it is, and actually, he's not even speaking a language. He's just simply inferring it using sounds, and he's talking about his neighbor really angry with him for making his car engine go really loud, and he's going brum, 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 brum. And even though there is no language there, it's all tonal, you instantly understand the context of his story, even though he's going blah 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 blah, and he's making these car noises and then little quirks and stuff like that. But you can instantly understand that his neighbour's pissed off because he's trying to rev his car engine a little bit too much. And I think it was a meme. I think it was like a little comedy sketch, and it's brilliant because you have for me, I had no idea what the language was, if it was a language, and you understood the context of his story though, regardless of it. It was superb, and that's exactly lies into what VJ was saying. You don't always need to fully understand the language to understand its inference.
Yeah, I think that the Korean TV and movie industry has a very good future, like future ahead of it, because it's like I have been going to the film festivals for ages, and I think like something like 2005, around that time period, like Korean movie really started to take over, like most of the years that I remember, it was like the Korean movies that had the best plots and best acting and best filmography, and there has been so much good movies coming from that country, and think about this situation, like last year, like you could say like Japan's like current best director, this Hirosuke Koreeda, went to Korea and directed there a Korean actor film, like making with the talent there, and it was fantastic movie, but it really shows like where there is like really, if you want to be making good Asian movies, like Korea is your best bet where to do it.
I think you got Korea, Japan. I think those I think they're coming into their fruition. I think they're fruiting. The fruits coming out of them is superb. I think it's their time. I think
Japan had its
best. Yeah, I know it's going to sound a bit biased, but yeah, Lies of P just echoes what Removal was saying.
You know, we look, think of like some of the games that have come in, recent games that we're really excited to see. Korean, Japanese, Chinese games are coming out, and we're like, yeah, I want to play it. I want to play it, and I think you know it's just their time, and I'm happy with that. I'm more than happy with it. It'll get to a point again. It'll probably switch in maybe a decade's time, where maybe the Western market will go right. Here's our innovative sort of things, and we'll find it going down there. Or maybe it'll be a blend. You know, we'll get a nice combination of both Eastern and Western stuff coming through. You know, but right now I would say it's leaning more towards, at least on definitely on the drama scale, and definitely on the storytelling, it's leaning heavily on the Eastern side. I mean, you can see that with manga and anime. It's
You can.
That is booming. It's a booming market.
I've still got to watch some more of that. I've not watched it in a while, but I did enjoy. So I'm gonna have to watch some more. I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, I can send you some good movie recommendations from Korea to your way stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I'll check them out. But we have had a very good conversation tonight. We didn't make it through all the topics, but we're not going to go through a 3-hour show, because I know it's 1 a.m. in Finland now, currently, because I've got it on my phone. I have it in there. But yeah, it's been a great conversation tonight. We've got through a long conversation on EGX, indie games, and Japanese, Microsoft, and Japanese culture, Korean, and good conversation really. Overall, we always have a good conversation on there, especially when Meisuko joins us on the show. It's always good. It is. But thanks for coming on, Meisuko. Do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, on Twitter, meisuko_1984, and say hi there, or come and join in the chat here on Stubbs show.
Yeah.
Yep, you always find them here.
Yeah, definitely.
The door's always open. But yes,
thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, and VJ, thanks for coming on. I'm sure you're itching to tell people where they can find you.
No, that's okay. It was just something Meisuko was talking about, German philosophers, and I think this is pretty apt, because I like being on the show, right? Because when we speak together, the four of us, it's like we know fundamentally it doesn't matter what we say, right? We know categorically it's seldom safe to assume anything, because since the only constant is change, and it was just something Meisuko said, and he always says something that brings an old memory to the surface, because he mentioned like German philosophers. I think it's just apt to say. I think it was Schopenhauer or one of those blokes. It might have been Carl Jung. He said, that humor is as the only divine quality of man. And when I'm on these shows, I just find that when we go off on tangents and discuss different cultures, different civilizations, not that I know about everything, it's just it's just I just find that it's a lot of fun, and brings a bit of levity to my day. So I appreciate that, and thanks for having me on, and hopefully more of the same next time.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, thanks for coming on, VJ. And removable.
Yeah, sorry for waffling.
No, I enjoy it. Sometimes I don't always say stuff. I'm just taking it in what you're all saying, because I don't always have luckily removable sanity saved me there from saying a Canadian program was actually Korean when it wasn't. That's my misunderstanding. I didn't luckily save me there, because I didn't realise.
Because I absolutely love the show, so I know exactly what you're going through.
I just turned it on because it's very funny.
Honestly,
it is. But that is the kind of show that some of the stuff they say out there. It's in today's culture, you'd think would be cancelled, wouldn't you? By some of the stuff they say.
I would say they're very. No, I wouldn't say they're political. I think what they've done is they've worked a way around it that is beautifully put.
Yeah, it's funny. I think
they have worked around some topics that as you rightly said, would be cancelled, but they've done it in such a way that it's heartfelt and heartwarming,
Exactly.
and
It's
still
not
has
ill
humour
intent.
in it.
It's not.
That's right.
None of it's ill
And
intent.
exactly. And I think, do you know what? I think that was the way. That's why it's such a good show, because it goes in with a heartfelt, warming sort of story, and then it goes from that premise, so that any topic that comes up, you know it's not maliciously, you know it's been done with warmth, and 9 times out of 10 it does it with such a reverence to humanity that you can't, you can see it's such a it's done well.
Yeah, remember what I think the fundamental thing there is that it doesn't matter what they say, and whether it even bordering politically incorrectness, which I don't agree with. I think that when they present themselves and the way they portray, stuff that goes on behind closed doors, is with no malice. It's all with kindness and innocence, and I think that shines through predominantly more so than anything else. I think that's what I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I think that's what you're trying to.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, thanks for coming on, Removable, and giving your EGX takes along with Meisuko. It's all good, all good conversation as always.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. No, I'm always happy to be on here. You know me, I don't stop talking, as Meisuko found out probably. And it's great to have you. It's great to meet him. Exactly. It was fantastic to actually see the giant that is Meisuko, and I keep saying giant because everyone's giant to me. I'm small, but it was fantastic to meet him in person. It's fantastic to always have him on the show. He always brings good humour and enthusiasm and knowledge to these sort of topics. I absolutely, it's fantastic to have him on, and we hope to have him on more often.
Yeah, it was really, really a pleasure to meet you, and it's like I don't know, it's like being friends online. It's one thing, but when to get meet another person in real life, it's another. So it's really good that I got that chance. Yeah,
there's a lot to be said for physical proximity.
Yeah. Well, I can only apologise.
Face is currently going. I bet your face is currently going red Removable, isn't it?
It is.
With all the face.
Yeah.
It's not his face. It's his mask is changing colour.
Yeah, I'm not one for compliments. No, I can only hope that I didn't scare Meisuko too much when he did see my original face.
Why did he see the skull first?
Well, he did see the skull first. Yeah, he did actually see the skull first. Yeah. But it's one of those things. It was great to see him in person. It really was. And thank you all for having me on. Much appreciated. For those who are listening, either now or further down the line, you can find me on multiple sites: Twitter, Minds, Rumble, YouTube, and Xbox, all under the name Removal Sanity, and I'm more than happy to have a chat with any of you.
Thanks for coming on, Removal Sanity.
Ooh.
And you can find me on the website X, formerly known as Twitter, at stubzgaming, on YouTube at stubzgaming, and Rumble, stubzgaming01, I think my channel's called, and also, this show will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many more. And also, we're available on YouTube Music Podcasts as well now. I first was quite pessimistic towards the fact that YouTube were going to be doing it because they scrapped the Google Podcast app. But what they've actually done is they're allowing people from within the YouTube Music app, even if you haven't got premium, which I thought they were going to do, and I'm wrong, they're allowing you to download podcasts and play them offline without having to pay. So I think if anyone's got a podcast, make sure you change the format from a playlist to a podcast, and they will all appear in that app for download, which I really think will probably be a great benefit to a lot of people that have podcasts. Because you can already download Indie Gamers podcast too, so it's a work in progress. I'll keep my eye out on that app. I will, because I never thought YouTube would do that.
Trust me, they'll monetize it somehow.
Oh, they will, and then people will stop watching. Trust me. Trust me. But we're available basically on every platform. We are. So yeah, thanks for all the support, and we'll be back next week. Thanks everyone. See you next week. Cheers.
Have a good one.